My fingers were wrapped so tight around the keychain that the metal was digging into my skin. Matt's keys. The same Matt who'd sent me a text at 6 in the morning 2 weeks ago that read, "It's over. Don't contact me again." Then blocked me everywhere. Simple. Clean, like I was just another spam email he needed to delete from his life. 2 weeks had passed since that message arrived. 14 days of me trying to understand what went wrong. Was it something I said? Something I did? Did I push too hard? Not hard enough? But there were no answers because he'd made sure I couldn't reach him, blocked on every single platform we'd ever used to communicate. These keys in my hand, his apartment key, his car key, and one small blue key I still didn't know the purpose of, they were my last connection to him. The final excuse I had to see him face to face. And my stupid, desperate heart kept whispering that maybe when he saw me standing there in person he'd explain. Maybe it would all make sense. Maybe he'd realize he made a mistake. "Chester, why are you even going?" My roommate Derek shouted from the kitchen as I grabbed my jacket. "He won't even remember your face at this point. Just move on, man." But I was already out the door. I couldn't move on without knowing why. Closure, that's all I wanted. Just one simple explanation so I could stop replaying every conversation we'd ever had, searching for the moment everything fell apart. Matt's apartment was downtown in one of those fancy buildings where the security guard always looked at you like you didn't belong. I pressed the buzzer. Once. Twice. 3 times. Nothing. I was about to give up when the speaker crackled to life. "Who is it?" Matt's voice came through, but it sounded strange, breathless, annoyed. "Chester, I'm here to return your keys." Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence that stretched for what felt like forever. Then finally, a buzz. And the door unlocked. My hands were shaking as I stepped into the elevator. 5th floor. Apartment 512. The ride up felt like it took hours even though it was less than a minute. When I reached his door it was already slightly open. I could hear voices inside, laughter, some kind of slow music playing. I pushed the door open, and my heart literally stopped beating. Matt was standing right there by the entrance, wearing nothing but gray sweatpants. His chest was completely bare. His hair was messy like someone had been running their fingers through it. His lips looked red and slightly swollen, and behind him in the living room another guy was sitting on the sofa. He had on a black t-shirt and jeans, but his shirt buttons were undone, hanging open. When he saw me he smiled. Actually smiled at me like this was completely normal. Matt looked at me the way you'd look at an unexpected pizza delivery you didn't order. "Oh, Chester. Hi." I stood there holding his keys, my mind screaming one single thought on repeat. Run. Just turn around and run. But my feet wouldn't move. I felt frozen, like someone had poured concrete around my shoes and I was stuck in this nightmare moment forever. Matt ran a hand through his hair, casual, like nothing about this situation was unusual. This is Blake." Blake. The guy on the sofa stood up and walked toward me with this confident swagger that made my stomach turn. He was smirking, actually smirking, as he extended his hand like we were at some kind of business meeting. "Hey man, nice to meet you." I didn't take his hand. I couldn't. All I could do was thrust the keys toward Matt. "Here. Your keys." My voice cracked on the last word. Pathetic. I sounded absolutely pathetic. Matt took the keys without even looking at them. Didn't examine them to make sure they were all there. Didn't say thank you properly. Just thanks. "Anything else? Anything else? Anything else?" Something inside me snapped. "Seriously? You're not going to explain any of this to me?" Blake let out this weird laugh. "Dude, this is getting kind of awkward." "Shut up," I said, looking directly at Blake for the first time. "Nobody was talking to you." Matt stepped between us. "Chester, don't be rude. Blake is my boyfriend." I finished his sentence. "Your boyfriend? You've had a boyfriend for 2 weeks? Wow. Matt. That's gotta be some kind of record." Matt's jaw tightened. I could see a muscle twitching in his cheek. "There was nothing real between us, Chester. You know that. We were going nowhere." "I don't know that." My voice got louder than I intended. "Because you never told me. You just sent a text and blocked me because I didn't want the drama." Matt cut me off. "And look, now you're doing exactly what I was trying to avoid." Blake pulled out his phone and started scrolling through it. Like this whole scene was boring him. Like my pain was just entertainment that had lost its appeal. I gave up. All the fight just drained out of me in one horrible rush. Fine. I'm leaving. I turned to walk away, but Matt called out, "Chester, wait." I didn't stop. I went straight for the elevator, jabbing the button repeatedly like that would make it come faster. When it finally arrived and the doors closed, I leaned my head against the cool metal wall. Stupid. I was so incredibly stupid. I thought maybe I'd get an explanation. Maybe some closure. Instead, I got publicly humiliated. The elevator reached the ground floor. I walked out, wiping my eyes quickly. At the building entrance, I paused. Rain had started falling. Of course it had, because today needed to be a complete disaster. I pulled my hood up and stepped outside quickly. I just wanted to get home, lock myself in my room and not talk to anyone for the rest of the week. But as soon as I hit the sidewalk, I collided with someone hard. Shit. I tried to catch my balance but slipped on the wet pavement. I went down straight into a puddle. Now I was completely soaked. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," a voice said above me. I looked up. A guy was standing over me, tall, with dark messy hair and a gray hoodie that was now completely drenched. He was holding a professional camera in his hands, desperately trying to protect it with his jacket. "Are you okay?" He extended his hand to help me up. I grabbed it and pulled myself to standing. "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. I was soaking wet. I'd just returned the keys. I didn't get any closure with Matt. And now I'd crashed into a complete stranger. Perfect. Just perfect. The guy was staring at me. Really intensely. Were you crying?" I quickly wiped my eyes. "No. It's just the rain." "Rain doesn't make your eyes red like that," he said softly. "I'm a photographer. I read faces. And yours is telling me you're in a lot of pain right now." His directness caught me completely off guard. Most people would have just let it go, accepted my lie and moved on with their day. But this stranger was looking at me like he could see straight through every defense I was trying to put up. I tried to step around him. "I'm fine. Thanks for the concern," or whatever. But he shifted, blocking my path. "Wait. Please. Just 1 minute." I looked at him, feeling annoyed now. "What do you want?" He adjusted his camera bag on his shoulder. "Look, I know I'm a complete stranger to you right now. This probably seems weird. But when we collided just now, the expression on your face, I can't just ignore that. You clearly just went through something really painful, and I can't let you walk away alone in this state." "Why?" I asked bluntly. "Why do you even care?" He took a deep breath. "Because 6 months ago I was exactly where you are right now. Broken. Lost. And someone left me alone to deal with it. I know what that feels like. I won't do that to someone else." There was something genuine in his voice. Something real that cut through all my anger and hurt. "Come on," he said. "Let me buy you coffee. We'll find somewhere you can dry off. And if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Just don't be alone right now." I looked into his eyes. They were brown, sincere, full of concern for someone he didn't even know. And something inside me broke. "Okay," I heard myself say quietly. Relief washed over his face. "Thank you. By the way, I'm Chester." We walked through the rain to a small cafe nearby. It was practically empty inside, probably because of the weather. Jude led us to a corner booth and then went to the counter. I sat there, dripping water onto the floor, feeling cold and emotionally exhausted. Jude came back carrying 2 towels and 2 hot chocolates. "You need this more than coffee," he said, handing me a towel. I took it and started drying my hair. Jude pulled off his soaked hoodie, revealing a simple black t-shirt underneath. He set his camera carefully on the table and began wiping it down with his towel. "That camera looks expensive," I said, trying to make some kind of normal conversation. "It is. It's basically my life," Jude smiled. "I'm a freelance photographer, street photography mostly. Had a shoot scheduled today but the rain destroyed those plans." "Sorry," I said automatically. "Not your fault." Jude took a sip of his hot chocolate. "So, are you feeling any better now?" I stayed quiet. What was I supposed to say? That my ex had replaced me in 2 weeks? That I'd gone to return his keys and he'd humiliated me in front of his new boyfriend? "You don't have to talk if you don't want to," Jude said. "But if you do want to, I'm listening." Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe I just needed someone who wouldn't judge me. Everything came pouring out. My ex-boyfriend lives in that building you found me outside of. I thought if I returned his keys maybe I'd get some closure. But when he opened the door he was half naked and there was another guy behind him. Blake. His new boyfriend. It's only been 2 weeks. I gripped my cup tighter, and he told me our relationship was going nowhere. Like I was just a waste of time. Jude listened intently. Didn't interrupt. Just gave me his complete attention. When I finished he placed his hand on the table right next to mine. Your ex is a coward. I was shocked. What? A coward? Jude repeated firmly. If he wanted to end things properly and give you closure, he would have done it face to face. But he sent a text and blocked you because he couldn't handle your reaction. And today, making you face his new boyfriend like that. That's not just cowardice, that's cruelty. Nobody had ever taken my side like this. Even Derek had just told me to move on. But Jude seemed genuinely angry on my behalf. You don't think I'm overreacting? I asked carefully. Not at all. You deserved better treatment. Relationships end, that's normal. But the way he handled it, that's messed up. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe properly. Like someone had lifted a huge weight off my chest. We talked for the next hour. Jude told me about himself. He was a freelance photographer, doing mostly events and street photography. His apartment was actually in the same building as Matt's on the 2nd floor. He didn't know Matt personally, but he'd seen Blake around. He gets involved with a lot of people in that building, Jude said carefully. If you know what I mean. I understood. Blake was a player. And Matt, maybe he was too. When we left the cafe, the rain had stopped. Jude looked at me. Feeling any better? I answered honestly. Yeah. A lot better. Thank you. Seriously. Crashing into you was actually the best thing that happened today. Jude laughed. Sorry about the collision. But meeting you, I'm glad it happened. Me too, I admitted. He pulled out his phone. Let's exchange numbers. If you ever need to talk or if you're feeling alone, just text me. I gave him my number. When we separated, Jude said something that stuck with me. Take care, Chester, and remember your worth isn't defined by someone else's decision. Walking home, I looked at my phone. Jude's name was saved in my contacts. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt a tiny spark of hope. The next morning at 9 o'clock, I got a text. Jude, good morning. How are you feeling today? I smiled and replied, Chester, better, much better. Thanks to you. Over the next 3 weeks, Jude became part of my daily routine. We met almost every day. Sometimes he'd take me along to his photography shoots. Sometimes we'd spend hours talking in random cafes. He showed me that life existed before Matt and would continue existing after him. One evening I was at his apartment. He was editing photos from his latest shoot while I sat on the sofa watching him work. His concentration face was kind of cute. Lips slightly pursed. Eyebrows drawn together in focus. Check this out, he called me over to his laptop. I walked over and stood beside him. On the screen was a photo, a sunset over a bridge with a silhouette in the foreground. It was beautiful. When did you take this? I asked. The day we met. After the rain stopped, the sunset came out. I saw you outside the building when we collided. You looked lost, soaked, hurt. I took this later, when you were walking away. My heartbeat picked up speed. You took my photo? Not exactly yours. Your silhouette. I never take photos without permission. But that moment was so powerful, I had to capture it somehow. Something shifted in the room. The air felt heavier. I was standing very close to him now, close enough to feel his breath. It smelled like coffee and mint. Jude, I started, but couldn't find the words. He closed his laptop and turned to face me completely. Chester, I need to ask you something. And if it makes you uncomfortable, just tell me immediately. My throat went dry. Yeah? Do you feel something for me? The way I feel something for you? My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. I don't know. I mean, after Matt, I'm having trouble trusting anyone. And I'm scared that I'll hurt you too? Jude finished my sentence. Chester, I can't promise we'll never have misunderstandings, but I can promise this. I will never treat you the way Matt did. You'll get respect. Communication. Whatever happens, we'll work through it together. These words. These simple, honest words. Matt had never said anything like this to me. I did something impulsive that I normally never do. I cupped Jude's face in both hands and kissed him. He was shocked for a second. Then he responded. The kiss was deep, slow, and incredibly real. When we pulled apart, I was breathless. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. I started. Don't apologize. Jude placed his thumb on my lips. I've wanted to do that for weeks. I laughed, nervous, awkward, but happy. But Chester, he said seriously, I don't want to pressure you. If you need time, I'll wait. I do need some time, I admitted honestly. After Matt, I want to make sure these feelings are real, not just temporary. Jude took my hand and kissed it. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. That night when I went home, there was a strange warmth in my chest. Maybe I could trust someone again. 2 weeks later, everything was perfect. Jude and I were acting like an unofficial couple, holding hands, random kisses, late-night phone calls. I wasn't ready to put an official label on it yet. But whatever this was, it felt good. Then one day while I was at the grocery store, I ran into Matt. He looked different, tired, with dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me, guilt flashed across his face. Chester, he said, walking toward me. I grabbed my shopping cart and tried to move past him. Not today, Matt. He blocked my path. Please, just 2 minutes. What do you want? I asked coldly. Blake, he left. I raised an eyebrow. And? I was wrong. Leaving you, hurting you, it was all wrong. His voice was cracking. I miss you, Chester. I really do. There was a time when hearing those words would have melted me. But now I could see clearly this wasn't guilt. It was loneliness. He'd thought Blake was his replacement, and now that Blake was gone, I was the backup option. Matt, I said very calmly. You don't miss me. You miss your comfortable option. I was convenient for you. Understanding, forgiving. Always available. But I'm not that person anymore. Chester. Please. No. You made your choice when you blocked me. When you picked Blake. And now I'm making mine. I've moved on from you. With someone else? Matt asked suddenly. Jealousy creeping into his voice. I smiled. For the first time, a genuine smile.
Yes.
With someone who actually values me. Matt's face fell. He tried to say something but no words came out. I pushed my cart past him and walked away without looking back. When I told Jude about it, he pulled me into a tight hug. I'm proud of you. Honestly, me too. I admitted, hiding my face in his chest. He lifted my chin up. So, are you ready? Officially? I knew what he was asking. And this time, I had no doubts. Yes. I'm ready. Jude's face lit up like he'd won the lottery. He kissed me hard, passionate, relieved. So Chester, officially, will you be my boyfriend? I laughed and said, yes, I'm your boyfriend. And in that moment I realized something important. What Matt had broken, Jude had built back better and stronger. 3 weeks had passed since that evening in his apartment when we kissed. 3 weeks of carefully dancing around what we both wanted but were too afraid to name. Jude never pushed. He let me set the pace, which somehow made me fall for him even harder. We developed this rhythm. Every Tuesday and Thursday he'd meet me after my shift at the bookstore. We'd grab dinner at whatever place looked interesting, then walk aimlessly through the city streets, while he pointed out perfect shots he'd take if his camera wasn't at home. On weekends I'd come to his place and we'd cook together while he'd cook while I sat on the counter and kept him company. Tonight was different though. He'd invited me to his place with a specific purpose. I want to show you something I've been working on, he'd texted earlier. Something important. When I arrived at his apartment, he had his laptop set up on the coffee table, surrounded by printed photographs scattered everywhere. The entire living room looked like an explosion of his work. What's all this? I asked, setting down my jacket. My submission for the downtown gallery exhibition, he explained, gesturing for me to sit beside him. They're accepting applications for emerging artists. This could be huge for my career. I sat down, suddenly nervous. Why are you showing me? What if I don't understand the artistic vision or whatever? He laughed softly. Because your opinion matters more to me than any gallery curator's. You see things honestly. You don't pretend to understand art just to sound sophisticated. We spent the next hour going through his portfolio. Each photograph told a story. Street vendors at dawn, elderly couples on park benches, children playing in fountains. His eye for capturing genuine human moments was incredible. Then he pulled up a folder I hadn't seen before. These are more personal. I haven't shown them to anyone yet. The first image appeared on screen and my breath caught. It was from the night we met, not the silhouette he'd mentioned before, but a different angle. The rain-soaked street, blurred lights reflecting off puddles, and in the distance, barely visible, two figures standing close together under a cafe awning. "That's us," I whispered. I went back the next day and tried to recreate that moment from memory. Jude admitted, "I couldn't stop thinking about how you looked that night. Vulnerable but trying so hard to be strong." He clicked to the next photo. This one showed the same cafe from inside. An empty booth with two half-finished hot chocolates on the table. Then another, a close-up of hands almost touching across worn wood. Neither quite brave enough to make contact. "You've been documenting us?" I asked, emotion thick in my throat. "Not documenting. Remembering. These moments with you. They've meant everything to me, Chester. I needed to preserve them somehow." The final photograph loaded, and I felt my heart skip. It was recent, probably from last week. We were at the park sitting on the grass. I was laughing at something he'd said, head thrown back, completely unguarded, and he was looking at me with an expression so tender it made my chest ache. "Who took this?" I managed to ask. "Timer setting. I wanted one photo where I wasn't behind the camera, where I was in the moment with you instead of capturing it." I turned to face him properly. His eyes were intense, searching mine for something. Permission, maybe, or confirmation that I felt this too. "These photographs," I started, then had to stop and swallow hard. "They're not just friendly documentation, are they?" "No," he said simply. "They're not." The honesty in that single word broke down whatever walls I'd been maintaining. I'd spent weeks telling myself we were just friends, that I needed more time, that jumping into something new was dangerous. But looking at these images, seeing myself through his eyes, I couldn't pretend anymore. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "After what happened with Matt, I'm scared of trusting this feeling. What if I'm just replacing one person with another? What if this is rebound territory and I'm going to hurt you?" Jude shifted closer, his knee brushing against mine. "Can I tell you what I see when I look at you? Not through my camera, but actually see you?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "I see someone who's been treating his own healing like a project with deadlines. You think there's some specific amount of time that needs to pass before you're allowed to feel something real again. But Chester, healing isn't linear. It doesn't follow a schedule." He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered there, warm against my skin. What Matt did was cruel. The way he ended things, the way he flaunted his new relationship that was about his character, not your worth. You don't need to prove you're healed enough to deserve someone treating you right. You already deserve that. You've always deserved that. Tears were building behind my eyes. "How are you so patient with me?" "Because you're worth being patient for," he said simply. "And because I'd rather wait and have something real with you than rush and have something temporary with anyone else." The distance between us had somehow shrunk to almost nothing. I could count his eyelashes if I wanted to, could see the tiny scar on his left eyebrow that he'd gotten falling off his bike as a kid. "What if I'm still a mess?" I whispered. "Then be a mess. I'm not asking for perfect, I'm just asking for honest." Something in me surrendered. All the overthinking, all the careful analysis of my own feelings, it evaporated. I leaned forward and pressed my forehead against his, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with coffee. "I don't want to just be your friend anymore," I confessed. "Every time you text me, my whole day gets better. When you smile at me, I feel like maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. And when you look at me the way you're looking at me right now, God, Jude, it terrifies me how much I want this." His hand came up to cup my cheek. "What do you want, Chester? Say it out loud." I want you. I want to stop pretending I'm not completely falling for you." The smile that spread across his face was radiant. Finally, then he was kissing me, and it was nothing like that first impulsive kiss weeks ago. This was deliberate. This was both of us choosing each other with full awareness of what we were starting. His hands tangled in my hair while mine gripped his shirt. pulling him closer. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine again. So where does this leave us? I asked. How about we stop labeling it and just see where it goes? No pressure, no expectations, just us, figuring this out together. I nodded, relief flooding through me. I can do that. Good. He pulled back slightly, his expression turning playful. Now, want to help me choose which photos to submit? I value your artistic opinion, boyfriend who isn't officially my boyfriend yet. I laughed, the sound surprising me with how genuine it felt. That's a terrible title. Working on it, he grinned. We spent the rest of the evening sorting through his work, but I kept catching him watching me instead of looking at the screen. And every time our hands brushed while reaching for the same photograph, electricity sparked between us. Later, as I was getting ready to leave, Jude caught my hand at the door. For what it's worth, he said quietly. I think you've been healed for longer than you realize. You just needed permission to believe it. I squeezed his hand. Thank you for being patient while I figured that out. Anytime, he murmured, then kissed me goodnight, soft and sweet and full of promise. Walking home, I pulled out my phone and looked at the photo he'd sent me earlier. The one of us in the park. For the first time since Matt's text had shattered my world. I looked at my own face in a picture and recognized the person staring back. Happy. Healing. Whole. Maybe Jude was right. Maybe I'd been ready all along. 2 weeks of unofficial dating turned into the easiest, most natural thing I'd ever experienced. Jude and I fell into a comfortable pattern: morning texts, shared lunches when our schedules aligned, evenings spent either at his place or mine. We still hadn't put an official label on what we were doing, but it felt more real than any defined relationship I'd had before. Then Saturday happened. I was running errands, specifically targeting the grocery store near my apartment, because they had the best produce section. I was debating between two types of apples when I heard my name. Chester. My entire body went rigid. I knew that voice. Hadn't heard it in nearly 2 months, but I'd recognize it anywhere. I turned slowly. Matt stood 3 feet away, looking significantly different from the last time I'd seen him. The confidence he'd radiated that horrible day when I'd returned his keys was completely gone. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, hair unwashed, wearing a wrinkled hoodie I recognized as one he only wore when he'd given up on appearances. Matt. I kept my voice neutral, turning back to the apples and selecting one at random. Can we talk? Please? We are talking, I pointed out, moving my cart forward. He followed. I mean, really talk. There's something I need to tell you. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, but curiosity won. You have 5 minutes. I'm busy. He took a deep breath. Blake left. 2 weeks after you came by, he just left. Said he wasn't interested in anything serious. Said I was too clingy. I waited for the satisfaction to hit, some sense of vindication or karma. Instead, I just felt empty. Okay, and you're telling me this because I was wrong. His voice cracked slightly. About everything. About ending things with you the way I did. About Blake. About thinking I needed something different. I was wrong, Chester. I stopped my cart and looked at him directly. Let me make sure I understand. You dumped me over text. Blocked me everywhere. Refused to give me any explanation. Then rubbed your new relationship in my face when I just wanted closure. And now that he's left you, suddenly you realize you made a mistake? It's not like that. Then what is it like? I challenged, because from where I'm standing, this looks exactly like someone who's lonely and remembering I was convenient. Matt flinched. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed. But there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Do you have any idea what you put me through? I spent weeks questioning everything about myself. Wondering what I'd done wrong. What I could have fixed. Why I wasn't enough. Derek had to physically stop me from creating fake social media accounts just to see if you were okay because I was that worried about you. Chester, I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. Not anymore. You know what I figured out? You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you're alone. There's a difference. His expression shifted to something desperate. That's not true. I genuinely miss you. Miss us. The way we were together. How easy things were. Easy for you. I interrupted. Because I did all the emotional labor. I was the one who always compromised. who always understood when you canceled plans, who never complained when you were too busy for me but always made time when you needed something. Matt's face was turning red. I didn't realize. That's the problem. You never realized. And you know what? I didn't either until recently. I thought that's what love was supposed to look like. One person giving everything while the other just takes. So you've moved on then? The question came out bitter. Found someone who meets your apparently very high standards? The accusation in his tone lit a fire in my chest. My standards are basic human decency, Matt. Respect. Communication. Actually showing up when you say you will. If those seem high to you, that explains a lot about why we didn't work. Are you seeing someone? He pressed. Is that why you're being like this? I could have denied it. Could have kept that information private. But something made me want him to know that I'd found something better. Something real. Yes. I said clearly. I am seeing someone. Someone who treats me like I matter. Who doesn't make me question my worth every single day. Who actually wants to be with me, not just someone who's convenient. Matt's expression cycled through several emotions. Surprise, hurt, anger, and finally settling on bitter resentment. How long? That's none of your business. How long, Chester? His voice rose slightly. Was it happening before we broke up? Is that why you're so angry? The accusation was so absurd I actually laughed. Are you seriously accusing me of cheating? You're the one who had someone else lined up within hours of ending things. I didn't have him lined up. Blake was sitting half naked on your couch 2 weeks after you dumped me. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending that relationship started after we ended. Matt opened his mouth, then closed it. Guilt flashed across his face before he could hide it. Yeah, I said quietly. That's what I thought. We stood there in silence. Other shoppers moving around us with their carts. An announcement came over the store speakers about a sale in the bakery section. I really did care about you, Matt said finally, his voice small. Maybe you did, in your own way. But caring about someone isn't enough if you're not willing to treat them with basic respect. And honestly, Matt, I don't think you knew how to care about me the way I needed. Maybe you didn't know how to care about anyone except yourself. That's harsh. It's honest. There's a difference. He looked at the floor, hands shoved in his hoodie pocket. So that's it? We're just done? We've been done since you sent that text. This is just me confirming what you already decided. Can we at least be friends? Eventually? I thought about it, really considered it. Then shook my head. No, I don't think so. We weren't good for each other, Matt. And trying to force a friendship would just be painful for both of us. So I'm supposed to just forget you exist? You're supposed to move on with your life. Work on yourself. Figure out how to be in a relationship without hurting people. And I'm gonna do the same. Matt's eyes were glassy. For a second I almost felt bad. Almost wanted to comfort him the way I always had before. But that wasn't my job anymore. I hope you find what you're looking for. I said, meaning it. I really do. Just not with me. I started pushing my cart away. Matt called after me, one last time. Is he better than me? Your new guy? I stopped but didn't turn around. He's not better or worse. He's just different. He sees me. Really sees me. And that's something you never quite managed to do. I walked away without looking back. My hands were shaking slightly as I finished my shopping, but underneath the adrenaline I felt something unexpected. Peace. Later that evening I went to Jude's apartment. He took one look at my face and pulled me inside. What happened? I told him everything, the encounter, the conversation, Matt's attempt to reconcile. Jude listened without interrupting, his hand holding mine the entire time. How do you feel? He asked when I finished. Lighter, I admitted, like I finally closed a door that's been stuck open for months. He pulled me into a hug, and I melted into it. I'm proud of you. That took a lot of strength. He asked if you were better than him, I murmured against his shoulder. What did you tell him? That you actually see me. Jude pulled back enough to look at my face. I do see you, Chester. Every part of you, and I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. We spent the rest of the evening on his couch, not talking about Matt or the past or anything heavy. Just existing together, comfortable and certain. My phone buzzed once. A text from an unknown number. I knew without looking it was Matt, probably having gotten my number from a mutual friend. I deleted it without reading it and blocked the number. Jude noticed. Everything okay? Everything's perfect, I said. And for the first time in months, I actually meant it. 6 months later, I barely recognized my own life. The person I'd been, the one who'd stood outside Matt's building crying in the rain, felt like a character from someone else's story. Jude and I had been officially together for 4 months now, having finally put a label on what we'd both known for a while. We'd moved past the uncertainty phase into something solid and real. Tonight was significant. Jude's first solo photography exhibition was opening at the downtown gallery he'd submitted to months ago. He'd been nervous for weeks, constantly second-guessing his choices, worried nobody would show up or understand his vision. I'd spent countless evenings talking him through his anxiety, reminding him how talented he was. Now I stood in the gallery wearing the navy suit Jude had helped me pick out, watching people filter through the space admiring his work. The place was packed, art critics, fellow photographers, random enthusiasts who'd seen the promotion online. And Jude was in his element, discussing his process with anyone who asked. Chester. He caught my eye from across the room and waved me over. There's something I need to show you. He took my hand, uncaring that we were in public, that people might see, and led me toward the back of the gallery. We passed his main exhibition pieces, the ones he'd agonized over choosing. Then we turned a corner into a smaller, more intimate section. I stopped walking when I saw the wall. An entire section was dedicated to a photo series I'd never seen before. The title placard read, "From Broken to Beautiful, A Journey of Healing." The first photograph showed a figure in the rain, barely visible through the downpour. Head down, shoulders hunched. The next image was slightly clearer. The same person, but this time turning toward the camera. Then another progression. Inside a cafe, posture still guarded but beginning to open up. As I moved along the wall, the transformation became clear. Each photograph showed gradual healing, tension leaving shoulders, smiles becoming genuine instead of forced, eyes that had been hollow slowly filling with light again. The final photograph was recent, from just last week. Jude and I at the park where we'd had our first official date as boyfriends. I was laughing at something, head thrown back, completely unguarded. And he was beside me, looking at me with pure joy. You? I couldn't find words. My throat was too tight. This is your story, Chester. From the moment we met until now, watching you rebuild yourself, watching you learn to trust again, it's been the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. People were gathering around us now, reading the description, admiring the photos. I heard someone say, "This is incredible, so raw and honest." Another voice, "You can actually see the healing happening between frames." But I only had eyes for Jude. "You made me part of your first exhibition." "You are the exhibition," he corrected gently. "Your strength, your resilience. That's the art, Chester." I just captured it. I felt tears building. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just stay with me. Keep letting me witness your life. That's all I want." Before I could respond, a gallery curator approached. "Jude, there's a collector who wants to discuss purchasing the entire series. He's willing to offer." "It's not for sale," Jude said immediately. The curator blinked. "But he's offering a substantial amount. This could really launch your career." "I don't care. These photographs aren't for sale. They're personal." After the curator walked away looking disappointed, I grabbed Jude's arm. "You just turned down what sounded like a lot of money. Some things aren't about money. These photos, your journey, that's not something I can put a price on." My heart felt too big for my chest. "You're incredible. You know that?" He smiled. "I learned from the best." The evening continued with more people admiring his work, several potential clients expressing interest in future projects. Jude handled it all with grace, but I noticed he kept glancing back at our section of the gallery, making sure I was okay. Around 9, when the crowd had thinned slightly, he pulled me aside to a quiet corner. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. My heart started racing. "Jude, relax," he laughed. "I'm not proposing. Not yet, anyway." "Yet." I squeaked. He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it. Inside was a simple silver ring with delicate engraving along the band. I could just make out the words, "You're worth the wait." "This is a promise ring," Jude explained. "A promise that when you're ready, Whether that's 6 months from now or 6 years, I'll be here. A promise that I see you, value you, and want to build a future with you. I stared at the ring, overwhelmed. Jude, you don't have to say anything. Just let me put it on your finger. Let me make this promise to you. I held out my hand and he slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. How did you know my size? I asked through tears. I've been paying attention, he said softly. I pulled him close and kissed him. Around us, people probably stared, but I didn't care. This moment, this perfect, beautiful moment, was ours. When we finally pulled apart, Jude wiped tears from my cheeks. Happy? So happy, I whispered. Happier than I ever thought possible. Later that night, we stood outside my apartment. Jude had insisted on walking me home despite having to return to the gallery in the morning for breakdown. Thank you, I said, for everything. The exhibition, the ring, for seeing me when I couldn't even see myself. Thank you for letting me in, for trusting me despite everything you'd been through. I looked down at the ring on my finger. Do you ever think about how we met? How random it was. All the time. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if it hadn't rained that day. If I'd taken a different route. If you'd left Matt's building 5 minutes earlier or later. We would have missed each other, I said quietly. Exactly. Which makes me think maybe it wasn't random at all. Maybe some things are just meant to happen. I thought about that. About Matt breaking my heart in the cruelest way possible. About standing in the rain, completely lost. About crashing into a stranger who would become my entire world. Maybe you're right, I agreed. Maybe I had to break completely before I could rebuild into someone who could appreciate what we have. Jude cupped my face in his hands. I love who you are now, but I also love who you were then. Broken pieces and all. Every version of you has been worth knowing. I love you, I said. The words came out naturally, easily. Not scary at all. His face lit up. Say that again. I love you, Jude. Completely. Entirely. Without reservation. I love you too, he breathed. God, Chester, I love you so much. We kissed again under the streetlight outside my apartment. The promise ring cool against his neck where my hand rested. When I finally went inside, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror looking at the ring. 6 months ago, I'd been shattered. 6 months ago, I'd thought Matt had destroyed my ability to trust anyone. But here I was. Whole again. Happy again. In love again. My phone buzzed with a text. Jude. Already missing you. Sleep well. Dream of our future. I smiled and typed back. Chester, our future is all I ever dream about now. Setting my phone down, I looked at my reflection one more time. The person staring back at me was someone I was proud of. Someone who'd survived heartbreak and come out stronger. Someone who'd learned that endings could lead to beautiful new beginnings. Matt had broken me. But breaking wasn't the end of my story.